Yeah, I would say every season, if you are following God, if you're being faithful,
Mm.
every season there's preparation for whatever is next.
Mm.
And I could say today that I feel like I'm in my sweet spot. I'm doing what God's called me to do now. But if I even look back, because everybody's trying to find their sweet spot, their
Yeah,
perfect
yeah,
fit, right?
yep.
But if I look back, let me say this: your perfect fit is not a destination. It's going to continually be a journey, and that is going to change in each season of your life.
Welcome back to Aspire Higher with Charles and Ivana Bailey. I'm ultra excited to be here. I'm a little sad because I don't have my partner with me. She's resting. She's been working like crazy. I said, babe, I got this. Besides, I have an incredible guest. And you know, when I say that, we don't just say it, it's true. We have a legend on today's episode. He won't call himself that, but I know him to be so. I grew up listening to this man when I was a kid. Some of you may even know this name once I say it. Urban D. Does that ring any bells? This guy's an OG and a pioneer in the Christian rap world, but he's so much more than that. And that's why we wanted to have him on this show. He is the lead pastor of Crossover Church in Tampa. This church has seen 30x growth under his leadership. This man is a cultural icon. He has nine freaking albums. He has 7 books. And this latest one that we're really excited to talk about is Gotta Be the Shoes. What a great and appropriate name, because he's talking about how culture and faith actually connect. Well, without saying too much more, my man, Tommy, welcome to the show.
What's up, man? It's good to be with you today.
I'm glad to have you. Look good. I made a joke before we got on. I said, bro, you don't know what the word age means, do you?
Ah, man, beige don't age, man.
You know the other one too, right? Black don't crack, brother. Let's
I
go.
know the other one. I know the other one, bro. So I got one too, man. Got a little tan, beige don't age.
Okay, all right. You're looking good though, man. So I know I've told a lot about who you are. So tell us real quick, right at the top of the show, what are you up to right now? What is the number one thing on Pastor Tommy Kyllonen's mind?
Yeah, well, number one thing, man, it's not just one thing. There's always got to be
A million.
multiple things. So, couple of the big things is my new book, Gotta Be the Shoes, came out. And so I've been doing a lot with that. Still working on some additional content and things that
Sure.
tie in with it. And then our church is coming into December. We got a lot of exciting outreach stuff that we're doing. And we are in the process of building a coffee shop. And so it's under
Are you
construction.
serious?
So yeah, so the second floor is being built out of steel, and
Wow.
we got construction happening in the lobby, and it's exciting. So we're hoping to have that done in the next, probably about next 2 months. So
Oh my
yeah,
gosh, bro. Like you're really legit. You know that, right? Like I know you wouldn't consider yourself a big deal, but this is one of the things that I'm excited that you said right off the bat. Instead of having one thing, there are multiple things. And instead of
yeah,
those things just being ideas, you're putting action into those things.
yeah.
I don't know if you heard
What
how I said that. I was
happened?
like, action, action. Anyway,
Action.
you're putting action into them. And that's one of the things that separates people, dreamers, doers, followers, thinkers. Totally different. I'm proud of you for that, man.
Mhm.
Tell me a little
Thank
bit
you.
about, before we go too far, how you came to be what you are today. Did you ever foresee it being this way, or was it just constant movement?
Man, I grew up in Philly, grew up a PK.
Okay.
If you don't know what that
Yeah,
church lingo is,
definitely.
pastor's kid.
Yep.
And I swore, man, I would never, do what my dad did. I'm like, look, you'll just be lucky if I go to church. And but man, I strayed away from God for a little while. I had my
Yeah.
rebellious season, but I didn't stray too far.
Okay.
And God brought me back when I was only 19
Okay. All
and
right.
went to Bible college the first year and was trying to figure it out. And God put a calling in my life to do ministry, and that it would look much different than my father's
That's right.
ministry. And I've always been a creative,
Mm.
and I've been a leader and I've been an artist. And so I've been able to tie in those things as also being a pastor, which is kind of a rare
Of
combination.
course.
It's becoming a little bit more seen. I
Yeah.
know some other pastor artists out there. There's quite a few of us now, but
Yes,
in the
truly. Like a
generation
Pastor
before, that
Mike and
wasn't.
KB.
Yeah, that wasn't really a thing,
Yeah.
in the generation before us. But now we see, we see that happening more and more. And so I've been able to infuse my creativity, my entrepreneurship, all that into leading ministry.
Mm.
And so, yeah, it's been a unique combination, but I love it because I get to truly be who I'm called to be. I don't have to put a
Ooh,
mask on.
my
I don't have to try
man.
to act like I'm something that I'm not.
Mm.
And so I feel like I'm really in my sweet spot. And I guess back to the original question, you said that I know it was going to be like this. No, I didn't have like a roadmap of
Mm.
like I wanted to be like X, Y, and Z.
Sure.
I just knew that it was definitely going to look different,
Mm.
and I wanted to reach people that looked like me, that maybe didn't fit into the traditional church
I love it.
mold. Even though I grew up in that, a lot of my friends didn't. When I would try to bring them to church with me, they would be like,
Like, what is this?
"What in the
Yeah,
world is
right,
going
right,
on
right,
here?
right, right.
What does that mean? What does that song mean?" I was like, "Oh, I don't even know what that
Yeah.
means. We just sing,"
It's like I've been here
you
30
know.
years. I don't know.
Yeah, so, I was like, "Man, I wanna have a church where people can come in and the music, the language, the dress, the culture
Mm.
is something they can still relate to and connect with." Of course, the Spirit of God is
Mm.
gonna rock them,
Let's
but I didn't
go.
want anything else to get in the way,
Yeah.
and sometimes all those other things can get in the way
Barriers.
sometimes, and they're man-made traditions and
Mm.
preferences versus being something that's actually biblical.
Wow, man, you said so much, and I'm so inspired by your words. And I know that's going to mean something and resonate with someone who's listening because you did something about it, right? And I'm going to start here. This show necessarily isn't
Yeah,
about this, but this is going to be a great point to bring out. You saw that there was a need for people to be reached, but you also saw that people just wanted to be received and accepted. So instead of talking about it, right, in theory, you created a place where people can
yeah,
actually authentically say, yeah, I can walk in and be who I am and still transcend my image, still become more and know that there is more for me because people actually
yeah.
believe in who I am and not just what I reflect. I want to say, bro, that's incredible. So kudos to you for even doing that. But I find it funny because you said this was something I didn't want to do, and I swore I was never going to do it. And then God came and touched you and changed your mind about some things.
Yep.
But here's what's crazy: you still got to do it differently.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I didn't wanna do it because of the way I saw it being done,
Mm,
and I didn't know of any other way.
yeah,
And I was like, "I just know I don't wanna do that."
yeah,
Now, if I would've been able to see everything that I'm doing today and just how I've been able to be myself and, like you said, create new lanes, there
yeah,
wasn't a
man.
lane
There
there,
wasn't a
so we
lane.
create a lane. I would have been like, "Oh, okay, I could see how that could work." Now, some stuff would have absolutely overwhelmed me.
Sure.
If I would have saw the scale of some of the stuff I was doing, I would doubt that I'd be able to do that. But I want to say to every person that's out there that's an aspiring leader or entrepreneur,
Mm,
like a lot of times God doesn't show us the full roadmap because we
right.
would be overwhelmed. But as
Absolutely.
we step in that path that God has for us, we put one foot in front of the other, one foot in
Mm,
front of the other, he continues to grow our capacity.
mm,
And as his spirit walks with us, it could blow our mind with the things that we're actually going to be capable to do and to lead. It'll be way beyond what you would have ever thought you'd be able to do. But that's
mm,
when he comes in the mix at Ephesians 3:20,
mm.
that he'll take you beyond what you could ask or
Think
dream or
or
fathom
imagine.
in
That's
your
right.
wildest dreams.
I love it so much. You know, one of the things I like the most is that nothing that you've spoken of speaks of limitations. And this show is
Yeah.
always geared to helping people aspire higher. One of the things I
Hmm.
love as well is that you've already done the ministry thing, but you didn't stop at pastor level. You're an entrepreneur, right? You're an author. You literally have albums, music albums. I know that you've connected people in the industry and helped people's careers take off. They may not say it out in public, but you've been a part of their story. And one of the things that I want to say is I think it's incredible that you didn't stop and you kept thinking of what can I do bigger? How can I add to what I'm already capable of? Can you talk to us a little bit about what that thought process was like? Was it just some inspiration or is it just Tommy constantly saying, no, I can do more and so I can be more.
Well, if you're familiar, are you familiar with the Enneagram?
No.
Okay, so it's like a personality test, and
Okay.
I've done Strength Finders, and
Right.
there's Myers Briggs. There's all kinds of Enneagram is kind of one that's become really popular in the last couple of years. My
Huh.
wife just like she became like a certified coach in it and
Oh,
stuff, and so
nice.
um, but my Enneagram number is a 3, and a 3 is like an achiever and a producer.
Okay.
And like I get fueled by creating content and
Mm,
producing and accomplishing things.
mm.
And that's one of the things that really that fuels me. And I feel like I'm alive. So when people are like, "Oh man, you wrote I mean, you've created 9 albums." And I'm in
Unreal.
my office right here. I got my records up
Look
there on the
at him.
wall. And so I've done 9 albums, and my new book that just came out is actually my 7th
Yep.
book.
7.
And I've done courses, I've coached people.
Wow.
I've just always kind of been that person that God's given me that large capacity
Sure.
to do a lot of different things. And the older I get, the longer I keep doing something, you get better at it. You should get
Mm,
better at it. You should
mm.
improve. You should get faster at it.
That's right.
And so even with me with writing now, man, I'm able to write a lot quicker and it
Unreal.
flows. And it's just, versus like my first book, I was like, what am I
Yeah,
doing?
bro,
I just
trust
want to
me.
make
I know that
albums. I don't want to
feeling.
write books. This is hard,
It
you
is
know.
not easy, man.
No, because like when you write a song and you are go in the studio and record it, I could be like, "Yo, Charles, man,
Yeah, what you
I want
think?
you to check out my new song."
Yeah.
And I could put the phone up and you could listen to it,
Yep.
for 2, 3 minutes, and then I could get some feedback from you. When you're writing a book,
Oh my
and I'm like, "Hey,
gosh.
Charles, man,
Yeah,
let me
sent you
send you a
chapter
chapter,
1.
bro. See what you think
It's
of it."
like 3
And then I
weeks to
call
get it
you like a
read.
week
Yep.
later, 2 weeks later, like, "Yo, man, what do you think of the?" "Oh, bro, I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, man. I've
Absolutely.
been
That is an
busy, bro."
absolute truth, man.
It's not a
Wow.
2-minute deal that somebody could just give you
Yep.
their time.
Yep.
You look at a chapter, it's gonna take you 15, 20, 30 minutes
Yeah.
to read it. And so it's a different process, but again, going back to like the more if God's called you to do it and you keep getting better at
Mm,
it, the better you're going to get and the quicker you're going to get.
yeah.
And you're going to discover your voice in whatever it is. If you're an
Mm.
actor, if you're a communicator, a speaker, a coach,
Yes, sir.
podcast,
Oh, yeah, yeah, you're talking
producer.
about me, man. Keep listening. All right.
Yeah, I mean, the more you keep doing it, you
That's right.
discover your voice
Yeah.
and your sweet spot.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's
Yeah.
incredible, man. And you mentioned a few things that I even failed to mention. And this just goes to add more to your tremendous list, not just accolades, but you're honestly trying to help people discover their true identity and purpose. But you
Yeah.
also lead leaders. You have Flavor Fest, which a lot of people know that name, and it's urban leadership. So it's incredible that you're helping leaders learn how to be better leaders. Can you talk a little bit
Yeah.
about that? Because coming from someone who didn't know that they were made to lead in this capacity, you're leading at an incredible high level.
Yeah, with Flavor Fest, that this album that's right back there, that that
The
that
blue one?
blue one
All
right
right.
there, that was called The Missing Element, came out all the way back in 1999, back when you were
Wow.
just a teenager, man, making me feel old. So, but that album came out, and that was back in an ancient time
Mm.
when you had to go to the store
Yeah, that's
to
right. To
buy the
get the
physical
album.
CD or the
Yes.
tape even, right? And we didn't have digital downloads and all the,
Sure.
streaming, all the stuff that we have today at
I
our
think it was
fingertips.
coming though. That was right around Napster, right?
Yeah, that was starting to come out early 2000s, right?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
mp3.com and all
You
that stuff.
remember those?
Oh yeah, man. And then iTunes came out and we were like, "Oh my gosh, this is
Yep.
crazy. You can download it on our phones." Now we're like, "I don't even want to download nothing. I don't want it
Ever.
to take up any space." Right?
Literally my words.
So, anyways, back then when the album came out, people had to go to the stores and buy it. I was signed to a national label. It was
Yes,
my
sir.
first national record. To 2 albums before that were indie,
Mm.
and there was a picture of the youth group inside of there. I had a couple hundred kids in my youth group,
That's
and there was a
cool, man.
paragraph under there of like how we were using music and sports, hip hop and basketball
Mm.
to engage unchurched kids in the community, and God was just breathing on it. It was amazing.
That's
So,
incredible.
and I talked about how we are doing breakdancing classes and
Yeah, that's
acting
right.
classes, MC classes for kids that wanted to rap, and you know all these different, like, we call them talent development classes. So that
Sure.
was in this little paragraph, and suddenly, like, because people were buying this album from all over the country,
Yes.
suddenly, like, people started calling us, emailing us. Email had just come out. They
Mm.
started visiting us because we're in Florida, and everybody
Right.
comes on vacation in
Yep.
Florida. They're like, "Oh, let's go to Urban D's church while we're on
Yeah.
vacation." And suddenly we just got all these people asking us all these questions like, "Man, how did you start that?
Yeah.
How are you leading that? I had a vision to do
Mm.
that," or "I'm trying to do something like that," or, suddenly we were the experts,
Yes, you
and
were.
we didn't feel like the experts. I mean,
Sure.
what we were doing was successful, but
Sure.
we had only been doing it a couple of years, but suddenly we were the experts of urban ministry, and we said, "Man, we gotta, it's more than just a phone call or a visit or an
Mm.
email. We should do a weekend where we can come, invite leaders to come, and we can do some workshops, and they can get hands-on experience and see what we're doing and be immersed in it. And we'll do a concert and an outreach, and you know." And so we launched that. We did Flavor Fest. Flavor Fest came out of the need of all these
Wow.
people coming to us,
Woo!
asking us for help and for resources and for training. And so we were kind of like building the plane as we were flying it,
That's okay
and that was all the
sometimes.
way back in the year 2000. It was literally 23 years ago we
Mm.
did our first Flavor Fest. We just did Flavor Fest a few weeks ago here, and this year was the very first year, Charles, that we did Flavor Fest on tour, and we
Wow.
went to 5 different cities, and we
That's
did that because
incredible.
leaders are struggling right now, church leaders,
Yeah,
and
sure.
coming out of the pandemic, a lot of
Yes.
churches still haven't gotten back to where
Of
they used to
course.
be,
The mindset has
and
changed.
yeah, and it's been a challenge. A lot of leaders are tired, exhausted.
Yeah.
They need some fresh innovation. They need some new ideas. They need some encouragement. They need some new resources. And on the other hand, our church, the last couple of years, has been thriving, and
Mm.
we're actually larger now than we were before the pandemic, and our giving is higher, and so many metrics and outreach and so many
Wow.
things are way above where they used to be,
Mm.
which is an anomaly. But there's been some very intentional things that we've done, new systems we put in place, new
Sure.
innovation, new outreach, new ways that we've used social media and
Mm.
technology. And so we're like, man, we know everybody can't come to Tampa
That's right.
to come see us, especially now with inflation.
Yeah.
A lot of churches,
Yeah.
their attendance is down, their giving's down, they don't
Sure.
have even as much resources, and now inflation went up,
Man, I
and
was in
like, hey, come to
California, the gas
Tampa.
is like $7, man. It's
Yeah,
unreal.
man, it's crazy. So we just said, we're gonna take it to them. So we went to New York City, went to
Mm.
LA, went to Houston and Atlanta, and then we came back to Tampa as
That's pretty
well.
cool, man.
And we trained over 1,000 leaders this year, man.
That's incredible, man.
It's
Oh, man,
amazing.
I wish my wife would say we'd be clapping and cheering so loud
Yeah,
together. Dude, I just want to applaud you. Bless God. That's incredible. But you said something powerful there. You said three things that I want to make sure I point out. First thing is this came out of the need that
yeah,
you saw, right? And this is what I want to really highlight. And feel free to interrupt me and interject if you have any thoughts as I say this. But as the people who watch this show know, we're trying to get them to see that there's more for them. We want them to see
yes.
that they don't have to be a carbon copy, as you like to say, that God
Mm,
has given them an authentic self and they can live and be who they're called to be. But most people are missing the things that are allowing them or would allow them the opportunity to be effective, to be impactful and engaging because they're not meeting the needs. They're focused more on what they need as opposed to being the solution to the problem. You want to speak to that really quick before we move forward?
yeah, that's good. I think we always have to be observant of what's happening around us in culture, and even just in community, the community that
Mm,
God's placed you in,
sure.
because obviously the needs right now can look very different than they were just a couple of years ago
Mm,
before the pandemic. I mean, we've
sure.
seen anxiety and depression and
Yeah,
addiction
skyrocketing.
and suicide and
Yeah,
suicidal thoughts. All that is like went through the
yeah.
roof, and so the needs and what people need, and kind of resources and information and the way to pray for people
That's
and
right.
minister to them, it's definitely, there's a lot of nuance to it. It's
Mm,
changed, and so if you're doing ministry the same way you were doing it in 2019,
absolutely.
it's different. it's different. And so whatever situation that God has you in at your job,
That's right.
in your community, your social
Mm,
media platform,
that's right.
whatever that is, the way to communicate with people and minister to them, it's always going to be evolving. And
Right.
we can't get stuck in one way to do it. And what worked yesterday might not work tomorrow the same
Mm,
way. And that's okay. And as creatures of a habit, we
yes.
could get stuck in
Yes.
oh, I'm going to keep doing it this
Mm,
way. It worked really good
mm,
last year. Well, maybe it was just for that moment. But now God has us to do something different, or has us to tweak it, or take it to a different level, scale it up
mm.
or scale it down. But it's not always going to be exactly the same. And I think a lot of churches and leaders can get stuck in that. And there's
That's
been
right.
many things that we've done over the years that they didn't work the same way when we tried them again. And
Mm,
instead of trying to just, keep pushing and, no,
that's
we're going to do it
right.
again because it worked that one time, to say, okay, let's take a different
That's
direction.
right.
Let's try this. Let's seek God and see maybe what else he's doing in this time, in this season. And I've got a great team that's willing to be
Of
flexible and
course.
willing to change. And there's a bunch of new stuff that we're doing coming into December
Mm.
this next month that we haven't done before. And we're excited to see what God's going to do.
Dude, that's incredible because I love hearing you talk about all those things, not just the team and not just innovation, but there's something that you're really good at that I want to make sure I highlight, and that is branding. When I'm listening, this is what I'm hearing. There's the central theme
Mm.
of that is that sometimes you have to transcend your image. Now, that's a trademark, registered mark that we actually own. And I say that over and over again because it's true. There's an image that we like to hold of ourselves. And a lot of
Love
times
it.
we don't realize that that image that we're holding of ourselves is our holding cell. It's the thing that's
Mm.
keeping us from being all that we're created to be and more.
That's good.
Like you just said, we're literally capable of doing so much more, but we keep thinking the thing that worked last time is the thing that's going to work this time. You said something that was the second thing I wanted to bring out from the earlier points you made is that you felt like you were building all that you were doing as you were flying, right? Like you're
Yeah.
building the plane as you're flying. And I want to really, really hone on that for a few minutes because a lot of people will hold themselves back as well because they think I need a new vision and I need a new plan and I need new
Yeah.
strategy. And all that's true now. I mean, there's something to be said about structure and planning. But sometimes we can hold ourselves back and worse, the people that we're meant to accelerate because we're sitting back
Yeah.
here thinking and planning and strategizing when all we need is action. We need faith, we need
That's
trust,
good.
we need movement. And I think that's one of the things that made you guys the expert because it's amazing how people assume that you sat down and said 1 + 1 = 2 and 4 × 4 is 16. But really what you said was they have a need, I have an idea. What's the worst that can happen? Let's see if we can pull it together and then see what
Yeah.
happens. And what
Yeah.
happened was everybody was like, yo, how did you do this? You're like, just did
Yeah.
it. I
Yeah.
just did
You
it.
you you have to be not afraid to fail.
Come on, speak
Sometimes you're gonna
about it.
fail at some things. And if you wait, I love what you just said, man. If you wait till everything is perfectly lined up to launch whatever the thing is you're called to launch next, a lot of times you're gonna miss your window,
You will
or you're never
miss
gonna
it.
launch at all
Oh my
because you're being
gosh,
too
goosebumps.
conservative, you know? So you got to take some risks. You've got
Yeah,
to take some risk if the Lord leads you. And yeah, you don't want to take blind risks and
right,
and not have any planning.
right.
There's a balance, there's a
And there's a difference
tension
between
to
ignorance,
the two.
right? Right.
Yeah,
Ignorance and just consciously not being a planner. That's different. But if you have a strategy in place, fine, but you still
yeah.
need to activate it. But go ahead.
Yeah, but if you step out on faith and you might not have every detail figured out, but if God's called you to do it and it's now, and you
Mm.
step out on faith, you're gonna watch those pieces of the puzzle get put into place. And I've watched it happen
Mm.
so many times. And I'm an optimist,
Okay.
but I'm also a realist.
Okay.
And I kind of help balance myself out because
Do you?
sometimes the
Yeah,
optimist
sometimes
is
you're
like,
over
"Oh,
there.
let's go," and then the realist is like, "Hold on a little bit because we got to think about this, that, and the other, and we don't
Sure.
want to like." So we never want to overpromise and underdeliver,
That's
and that's
true.
one thing I've learned as a leader.
Mm.
So you want to be careful when you're casting vision to people that are following you. You don't want to say these big, huge, monstrous things that you're not going to be able to back up at least most of the way, and
Mm.
because
Understood.
you can lose people's trust, and I've seen a lot of leaders do that where they've said too much too soon.
Mm.
And that's the other thing. When God gives you a vision, you don't need to share that with everybody at
Say it
first.
again, Pastor Tommy.
You don't need to say, because you know what? I so I'll tell you this, Charles. Like when we were at our old location,
Okay.
it was in the first year I was the pastor, man. And God gave me this vision. Easter Sunday, we only had like 40 adults attending. We
Okay.
had like, when I became the pastor, there was like 200 teenagers and 40 adults. And over half of the adults were my youth
That's
leaders.
so funny.
And I was 28 at the time. I was like
Okay.
one of the oldest people in the church.
That's
So,
hilarious.
and everybody was super, super young. And but Easter Sunday, man, we had over 100 people
Wow.
on a Sunday, adults. And I'm
Wow.
like, oh my goodness, the room could seat 200, but
You were
still, it was
like,
the first time
yeah.
we had broken the 100 barrier on a Sunday.
Incredible.
So I was like, man, God was already showing me like vision of like, we're gonna run out of room here. We're
Mm.
gonna need a bigger space. We're already running out of room on Thursday nights with our
Yeah.
youth service, but we're gonna just church as a whole. And so God just showed me like, if we're not gonna build here. We're not gonna expand on this location
Mm.
back in the middle of a little neighborhood where we are off in the cut, making a lot of
Yeah.
noise. All the neighbors are mad at us.
That's
um,
hilarious.
but God's gonna give us a new facility on a main street where people can find us, and we're not gonna bother the neighbors. There's gonna be plenty of parking, plenty of room to minister. It'll be a space that we could reach the whole city.
Mm.
And so God gave me that vision, and I began to share that, with a couple of leaders at the time, my youth leaders, and they were all just like, "What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, I got saved here. This place is
Yeah.
special.
Yeah.
We're never leaving this
Sentimental.
space.
Right.
This is holy ground. We're not gonna get big and sell out. We're not gonna become some mega church.
Missing the point.
We're not gonna get corporate." Like, there was all these like, and I'm just like,
Oh my
"Oh,
gosh,
man." And
man. You just should have
they
kept
were
it to
like,
yourself. Yep.
they weren't ready to hear it yet.
No.
But yet later,
Yeah.
as we grew and
Sure.
they saw like, "Oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
What God is doing.
we're doing 3
Absolutely.
services here now, and we're bursting at the seams. We went
Right.
from 40 to 500, and this is
Wow.
crazy.
Wow.
We need a new space." And so, sometimes you just need to be quiet
Yes,
and
sure.
pray and do the work,
Mm.
and then others will see as
Yes.
you're starting to let
Woo!
pieces of the vision out, you
Man, you
know?
are saying incredible things. That reminds me of the scripture where I actually reference this often, where Martha pondered in her heart. And she saw who Jesus was going to be. She had that glimpse. And there was a point where she's just like, don't say anything. This is in my heart. I see it. I see
Yeah.
what's happening here. And that's
Mm.
where we need to be. But I'm saying that because you're giving so many nuggets, and I wish that I can go back and pull them all out and extract them all out. Because one is, for any of our audience that is listening, we have a lot of athletes, professional athletes, CEOs, leaders in business and sport that are watching this show. And some of these things that you've given are incredible leadership tips. One, changing sometimes is good. You need to be able to pivot. You need to be able to change your strategy, and
Yeah.
you can't hold tight to the one tool that worked because you're going to need new tools. Life is changing.
Yep.
Circumstances are changing. Mindsets are changing. Then you have to have a clear image, brand. You need to have an idea of what message you're conveying. That's not just as a global or a corporate, that's also personal. And I think that's a sensitive place because sometimes it can be taken in both directions, but sometimes the image that you give off or that you display may not give across the message that you want people to receive. So that should be respected as well. But it's okay as long as you're staying true to yourself and you're not, as your people and counterparts were saying, you're not changing so that you can be corporate or you can be more accepted.
Yeah.
That's a difference. But then also you're looking at how strategy and planning is important, but you have to put your feet to the fire. You have to just take action and make it work. Even if God called you to do something, last thing you said was, you can miss your window. And I think that was something that we didn't really hit hard, but I want to say this to people because there are so many people who are watching, and I know that's how they feel. They feel like there was something that they were supposed to do, and they missed their time. One of the most beautiful things I know about God and I know about life, if you live long enough, it can be redeemed, right? Things will come back, but they won't come back the way that you thought they would. So you have to let go of what you thought it could have been or what it would have been and embrace what it is now. Have you ever had to encounter something like that or teach or work with someone to help them work through that?
Yeah, definitely. I know there's some people that have missed their window,
Yeah.
because some things that God calls us to do, God uses people when they're a certain age or at a certain
Mm.
season of their life. But let me take it to
Speak
another
about it.
level, man. Um, and I know there's some people out there that might be at a stage where they're like, man, I missed that,
Mm.
or there's this passion I have inside of me to do this, but there's no way I can possibly do that in my life right now,
Mm.
or I don't know if I could ever do that in my life with the trajectory of where everything is. Listen, God puts some things and passions and gifts and preferences inside of us that some of those things, and maybe you've never heard this before, but you may never get to live those things out here on this planet. But let me remind you that this is just the warm up act
Mm.
for eternity. And in eternity, if God's put that inside of you, you may be able to live that out in eternity someday. So for me,
That is
man,
a
I wanted to be an
profound
architect.
statement.
I wanted to be an architect, bro. And
Wow.
and and I just wasn't that great at algebra. And they said, "You're
Mm.
never gonna use this stuff unless you're an engineer and architect." And I'm like, there goes that. I'm not gonna do that because God wanted me to do ministry.
Sure.
Now, I've been able to help design,
Yeah.
my the campuses and the
That's right.
buildings that
That's
the
right.
church has been in, and I have an eye for that kinda
Yes,
stuff, so I've
sir.
been able to live some of that out,
Keep
and,
talking.
and I do have some crazy dreams that's a legacy project, that I wanna do with this property, in the future, but even that, as I've realized and I've studied more about the scripture, and there's a great book I recommend. It's called Heaven by
Mm.
Randy Alcorn,
Okay.
and it's not a book about I died and went to heaven.
Right.
I'm not dissing any of those books, but
Right.
this is like a biblical theology of heaven. And
Mm.
there's not one passage in the Bible that talks clearly about
Right.
heaven.
Sure.
There's lots of little like
Bits and
nuggets here
pieces.
and
That's right.
there
Just like when Jesus
and
talks about the
little
kingdom.
pieces, and he does a great job of weaving that together to create a
Mm.
solid biblical theology about what heaven's going to be like. And the church
Interesting.
doesn't talk about it much. I mean, a lot of
Sure.
people, even believers, a lot of you listening to this right now think that, well, when we get to heaven, it's going to be an eternal church service.
Yeah, that's
You
definitely,
know, and I mean, like,
dude.
I'm
No,
not that great of a singer, but
look, please
I guess
stop.
maybe
I
I'll have
don't
a
even
good
want to
voice in
hear it,
heaven.
right? Because it's
I'm just
not
going to
the
sing
way it
forever.
is.
I mean, I guess it's better than hell, but I don't know. Like, I'm going to be on a
Yeah,
cloud
cloud
playing
playing
the
a
harp,
harp or something. No,
like,
totally miss it.
no.
Yep,
In
absolutely not.
heaven, there's gonna be cities.
Yes.
There's gonna be work that you're gonna be
Yep,
doing.
that's what he says.
The Bible says that we're gonna be leading angels, and we're gonna be over
Literally.
things, and we're gonna be managing things. And
Yes.
so the gifts and talents and passions that God's put inside of you, in heaven and eternity, you're gonna be able to live those things
Come
out.
on.
And the things that you're doing here on earth is a warm up for some of that. It's
Yes.
preparing you and getting you ready
Mm.
for what you're gonna be doing for eternity in God's presence, in
Mm.
peace, in harmony, in a place where there's no sin. And there will be great church services, but
Sure.
there's also gonna be great projects that we're gonna be doing. I'm gonna be
Absolutely.
building some amazing
I
skyscrapers
mean,
in
bro, you
heaven, bro.
might be building, planets. We can't limit how that goes. He's a
I don't
creator,
know,
and
but
once he hands it over, you know what I mean? We have no idea.
yeah,
It's incredible that you brought that up. But I want to point
yeah,
out something you said as well with that. The gifts, skills, talents, and abilities here, and I think this is very important for anyone who's listening. Please hear me good. You have to be diligent with the time you have now, because
yeah.
you have to keep in mind you may be preparing for skills and gifts and talents you'll need forever. This
Mm,
is why I'm
absolutely.
disciplined today. This is why I discipline my body. This is why I take care of my temple. This is why I make sure I read. This is why I study. It's not so I can look like something and be something important to other people. I have always had it in my heart. It has only been my singular mission to maximize every single gift, talent, skill, and ability and
Mm,
platform that I have, and then to help other people do the same. Because I know, and this is what I've always thought about, when Jesus comes back, I want him to say, bro, you freaking killed it. Like, we had some fun,
yeah,
and look at that. I just
yeah.
gave you an idea and look at what you made out of it, right?
Mm,
That's how I think. This is what drives me. And I'm saying that to our listeners because I want them to recognize sometimes we will tell ourselves what we can't do and just won't do anything else. For instance, you said, I wanted to be an architect, but I wanted to say this to you, and I know you know this. You're building the kingdom right now. Bro,
Yeah.
you're literally laying out
Yeah.
foundations, and there's generations and other people that will be built upon that thing. You
Mm.
are an architect. The
Yeah.
problem is
You're
that
right.
we will limit ourselves to our titles here on earth
Yeah.
and forget that in the spirit, you are all those things that he's put on the inside of you. So I hope
Mhm.
that someone hearing that knows that they may not be looking at what God has given them right now with the right lenses. And
Yeah.
you wrote a book about lenses.
I did,
Yes,
called
you did.
Frames.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that, man. See what I mean? So go back to that thought maybe. So you have this gift, this skill, this desire on the inside of you. You are definitely doing it. Is there anything you could say to anyone who's watching that may feel that discouragement? Not just that they missed a window, we definitely addressed them, but maybe they're like, but I'm doing this and I don't feel like I'm accomplishing the thing that I'm supposed to do. What would you say?
Yeah, I would say every season, if you are following God, if you're being faithful,
Mm,
every season there's preparation for whatever is next.
mm,
And I could say today that I feel like I'm in my sweet spot.
mm.
I'm doing what God's called me to do now. But if I even look back, because everybody's trying to find their sweet spot, their
Yeah,
perfect fit,
yeah,
right?
yep.
But if I look back, let me say this: your perfect fit is not a destination. It's going to
Woo!
continually be a journey. And that is going to change in each season of your life. So for me, I was a youth pastor and then I became a pastor. For
Mm,
me, I was an artist, which I'm still an artist, but I
that's
was a
right.
rapper, but now I'm more of an author.
Mm.
You know, I was doing concerts, now I'm training and doing workshops.
Oh my
So
gosh.
there's all these, but now I'm not longing to go back. I'm looking at
Come
that wall
on,
back there with
bro.
the records on it and
Yes.
saying like, "Oh
I
man,
wish I still could do
I'm gonna
that.
drop another album and
Yep.
go on tour when my season is past for that."
Come on.
It's okay. Like, I can look back with great memories I performed at over 1,000 venues over the years,
Mm.
and it was awesome, it
Woo!
was great, and I'll still do a little bit of music here and
Sure.
there, but I'm not trying to go out on a tour and compete with the
And be
guys
that
that are,
guy.
like, half of my age
Yeah, yeah,
anymore.
that's true. That's true.
God has me in a different season, and so you gotta accept the season that you're in and look for the beauty in it and look for it. God's not done with you. As
Come
long as
on.
there's air in your lungs and your heart is still beating, there's still things that God has for you
I
to
believe that.
accomplish. And I know the season I'm in right now is going to come to an end. I'm not going to be the lead pastor
That's right.
forever.
That's
In
right.
another, 10, 15 years, I'm going to be transitioning into the next perfect
Sure.
fit that
Sure.
I have.
Sure.
And as long as I'm tapped into the Lord, He's going to show me what those next steps
Mm.
are. And I can walk gracefully into those things instead of trying to hold on too long to the
Woo!
past. We've all watched people that are held on too long at their
Too
company,
long.
at their church, when the bell curve and it was in the
Yeah.
decline, and they're trying to relive the glory days, and the glory days
They're
are long
gone,
gone.
man. Gone.
And man, I wanna leave and transition when things
Yes.
are at a high
Like I said, new
and are
glory.
healthy.
New glory,
Yeah,
glory to glory. I think that's
yeah,
amazing, man. But you mentioned the authorship again. And I really wanted to take some time. And I'm glad you brought it up because I
sure.
was going to find a way to transition back to that on purpose.
Yeah,
Speaking everything we talked about, it really lines up with your book. Gotta be the shoes because everything we spoke about, this is a kind of crazy thing. There are going to be people who watch this episode and they're like, this is a pastor? Like, you're serious? It's like, yeah, because our culture and our Christianity, our culture and our faith, they can coexist.
yeah,
And I think that's what you're trying to get people to understand. And you're right, because I grew up too, Mississippi, Southern Baptists and missionary Baptists. And those are the really predominant ones where I
yeah,
grew up. And you saw this stark separation. And it's not the question of holiness versus sin and these things. I'm talking about like, well, these people only dress like this and these people don't. Well, that's stupid because they
yeah,
don't dress like that every day. Do they dress like that when they go to sleep? You know what I mean? Like, so
yeah.
talk about your book. Talk about some of the concepts that you really find important and anything that you think would be good about that.
Yeah, definitely. So I wrote a book called Gotta Be the Shoes, where sneaker culture meets faith. If you
Mm.
didn't know, if you've been under a rock, sneaker culture is becoming a big thing
Oh
now.
man, it's
I mean,
huge.
sneakers used to just be for sports or whatever, but now they're like a big fashion
Yeah.
piece that so many people are into, of all different ages. So I did something really creative
Uh-oh.
because I'm a creative. And I actually put the box. The book comes in a custom shoe box, which it
That's
actually. I mean, we
incredible.
mimic the sticker on a Jordan box, and I mean, it comes in like a real like custom shoe box. And so you open it up, and it's all about the details. It actually comes in sneaker paper,
That's incredible.
custom paper that says "Gotta be the shoes" on it with the logo.
Do you see
And
this, Bill? That's our production here. Do you see this? What the heck?
so did the book in a. This is my first book that I did. That's actually it comes in a hardback.
Ooh.
There's a paperback version
Boy, that
available as
sounds
well.
like glass. That's quality
But
hardback there, man. I can't. Let me
yeah,
hold
oh
on. Wait, let
yeah,
me
this
wait
is
one second. Hold on. Mine sounds like
they
wood, man. Why does yours sound like? Oh my gosh.
so we did on the inside of the book. We actually did the hardback version is full color. And so we
Wow.
have a lot of guys that are into sneakers and girls at my church. And so we did a custom photo shoot. Everybody bought their best shoes. And so all throughout the book, there's sneakers and shoes that are weaved in, and it ties in with the story. Now, listen, even if you're not into shoes, there's a lot in this book.
Of
I
course.
mean, it gets you to it challenges you to think critically about purpose, about identity,
Mm.
about materialism,
All right now.
about eternity. A lot of the stuff we've even been
That's
talking
right.
about on this podcast so
Absolutely.
far, a lot of those things are creatively weaved in into the book, and there's a master class that goes with it. So there's 8 chapters, and there's 8 master class videos. The
Wow.
master class comes with it, and so it's video,
That's
it's
incredible.
audio, it's all that stuff. So yeah, so created that. Super excited about it. Just came out recently, and I am doing something crazy, Charles. I am giving the book away for free. Giving it away for free. Um, so you can get the paperback version for free,
Okay.
and I published it myself, so I own it. I didn't
Man,
go through some publishing company, so I have the
you're telling
ability.
me stuff I gotta bring up. You have your own publishing company too. Okay, all right. I forgot.
Yes,
Go ahead,
yeah,
bro. You go
yeah.
ahead, bro.
So we're giving the book away for free, and uh, doing something really crazy. The second book, we're giving 2 books away for free. I'm giving my frames book away as well. So 2 books, two
Wow.
master classes is really about $250 worth of value. You can go on Amazon and see like the Gotta Be the Shoes book is $47 on Amazon. The other book is $20 frames. Giving it away for free with the master class. And the only thing you have to do is pay for shipping. I don't
My
own the post
gosh.
office. I own the books, but
There you go, bro.
um, and then if you do want to get the box is not free.
Okay.
The box costs more than the book, bro,
Are
to
you
make.
serious? But that's a pretty
But you
dope
can
box.
upgrade and get the box if you want. I even have some custom. Man, let me show you this too, bro.
Let me see
So
them.
that box is the one that the book comes in, and it's black.
Okay.
But I also have a red box that's a little bit bigger,
Mm.
and in the red box, you get the book as
Right.
well. But in the red box comes a custom pair of
Are
Jordans.
you kidding me?
Gotta be the shoes, Jordans, and you can see like on the 2
Oh
side
my
panels, these are Jordan
gosh.
1s. We have the book cover on there, and then the Gotta Be the Shoes logo is on the back.
That's dope, man.
Yeah.
What the
So,
heck?
so all of that is available. You can get the book for free, or you could upgrade and get the kicks if you want, or the box. The website is freeshoesbook.com.
Freeshoesbook.com. We'll have that posted right here. In fact,
Pretty
when the
easy to
episode
remember. Think
right
of
here, I'm holding my fingers up here. It'll be right
freeshoesbook.com.
here. Dude,
Yeah.
that's incredible, man. And all of that coming from a guy had no clue this was all in him, but yet all of
No.
this is coming out of you because you refuse
Never
to
dreamt I'd
stop.
be writing a book, man. Like, I mean, I wasn't even that great in English class. So for me, like to start being an author now and a
Mm,
writer, never would have dreamt or imagined. But it's man, God will bring things out of you
yes.
when you submit your life and say, God, here I am. Use
Mm,
me. He'll use you in some ways that will blow your mind.
and now, woo, man, I mean, on fire listening to this because this is what we want people to see.
Yeah.
This wasn't just an episode where we're like, look how amazing Tommy is, which you are incredible, bro. But I wanted someone to look at you and think, but this all came out of a guy who clearly makes it known. I had no business being all of this, but I
Mhm.
trusted God with who I was.
Yeah.
I just had faith to just say, I'm crazy enough to put some action to these ideas. And
Yeah.
then instead of stopping at one thing, I'm constantly innovating, constantly bringing out new things, just trying, not being afraid to fail, because I find that's what a lot of people are doing right now. They're more concerned about what other people are going to think. They're more concerned about,
Mhm.
well, what if I do it and it doesn't work? Or like you said, I don't know algebra very well, so I can't go do this. I'm not great in English, so I can't write a book. And it's
Yep.
everything that's telling them that they can't. And the only person that they need to hear say that they can is themselves. In our book, we have a chapter we talk about you don't need permission. You've already been granted access and
Yeah.
authority to do all of these things. Who are we waiting on? And why are we so afraid to do them when those are the things that are inside of us saying, every day, you gotta get me out. I want to be a part of your world. I don't know, Tommy. Do you have any words for someone who may be feeling that? Like, yo, I see all this guy's doing, and I don't even know where to start. Because they look at social media and they see what you're doing, and it's a lot. But so
Yeah.
what? Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think social media can be, in some ways, it can be a blessing. In other ways, man, it can really be a discouragement
Mm,
because we look at what other people are doing. And of course, let me remind you guys, everything you see on social
yeah.
media, 99% of it is people's highlights.
Highlight reels.
People are not putting their low moments on
Sure.
there.
That's right.
They're not putting when they first wake up. They're not putting when
Yes.
they are frustrated. They're rarely being transparent or authentic like that,
Right.
right?
Right.
Um, it's the highlight moments. And so, and yeah, it's a place that you can celebrate your wins and
That's right.
post some stuff
Absolutely.
that God's doing that's good.
Absolutely.
But a lot of times what people post, and I talked about this on Sunday at church.
Mm.
We're doing a series on the book right now, and there's a chapter on there about what the sneaker community now, the new name, it's called reps, which is
Wow.
short for replicas. I mean, they're not real,
Wow.
they're fakes, but they're
Wow.
making replicas look so good. Let me show you. I got a pair right here,
Okay.
and I shared this on Sunday with this particular pair of shoes in the sermon, and this pair of shoes, they are some Nike Dunk.
Oh, wow.
There's some low, and they both look, they're both super unique. And these are called What the Dunk. And
Mm.
when you hear the price on them, you might say, "What the boop?"
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
say it. Um, these right now in StockX are going for $21,000. Yeah, crazy, right? But if
Wow.
you take one of these, this is a black light, and you're able to see the stitching right here in the
Yes.
side of it. Trying to get it to see
I
if you
saw a
could
little bit.
see
Yep.
a little bit. The stitching is off, and these are
Wow.
not real. These are replicas. And so if you are somebody that spends enough time with the original, you will be able to
Woo!
spot a replica. Problem is, a lot of us do not spend enough time
With
with
the
the creator,
original. Come
with the
on.
word. And so when somebody else comes along and presents something
Mm.
that sounds spiritual or is even some Bible, but it's twisted,
Mm.
if you didn't spend time enough with the original, you're not going to be able to spot it.
Detected.
So, yeah, boom, there we go.
My gosh, what a way to close it, my man. We are so glad to have had you grace this show. And I know that this is going to impact someone. In fact, I wish we probably need to do a part two one day because there were so many
Let's
things
do it.
that we were going to extract, man. But where can people find out about your church or even yourself? And then, of course, give that book, the free shoe book, one more
Sure.
time.
Yeah, you guys can connect with me on social media platforms, Urban D 813.
All
So
right.
it rhymes. It rhymes. Urban D 813.
Of course.
My church is Crossover 813. 813 is our area code, if you didn't know. And speaking of branding,
Yeah,
that's our church
I
logo right
saw
there.
it.
You can see it's actually a record,
That's
and
right.
the R is a little turn arm. And so, yeah, we are big into branding and creativity and all that. So Urban D 813, Crossover 813. And if you want to check out the Gotta Be the Shoes book and check out the box and all the cool stuff, this makes for a great Christmas
It's
present. We
beautiful,
all know
man.
somebody that's into shoes. and this could be a great way to plant a seed in their life.
Wow.
And there's a lot. I mean, this is written to also reach people that maybe they're not sure where they're at with their faith as well. It's
Mm.
definitely geared for that as well. So freeshoesbook.com is where you can get the book at, and pick it up for somebody.
My man. Well, guys, thank you so much for being a part of this episode with my friend Urban D, Pastor Tommy Kyllonen. Of course, you know I'm going to tell you, hit that like, hit that subscribe, and definitely hit that share button. And go check my man out. Go get the book, Gotta Be the Shoes. Hey, it's been great. We appreciate you. Until next time, Coach Charles.